tearing down the pedestal. Look around at the architecture of our world. Not the physical buildings, but the social architecture. Notice how we've built platforms, stages, and pulpits, and notice who stands upon them. There are politicians elevated above the people they serve, celebrities placed on magazine covers, their lives treated as extraordinary. Billionaires whose wealth places them in literal penthouses looking down from glass towers. Religious leaders speaking from ornate altars. Experts whose credentials seem to give them the final say. We've built pedestals everywhere, and we've been taught to look up. Today, we talk about what happens when we stop looking up, when we stop building these platforms, when we consciously, deliberately, and collectively, with intention, begin tearing down the pedestal. This isn't about anger toward individuals who stand on these platforms. Many climbed there with genuine talent and effort. Some were placed there by circumstances. Others fought hard to reach that height. Others just scammed their way to the top. This isn't about the people. It's about the structure. It's about the psychological and social architecture of elevation itself, and how that architecture keeps us divided, keeps power concentrated, and prevents true community from flourishing. The pedestal isn't just physical. It's made of more subtle materials. It's constructed from the stories we tell ourselves about who deserves to be heard and who doesn't. It's built from our unexamined assumptions about credentials and authority. It is cemented by centuries of tradition that tells us this is just the way things are. Let's examine the materials this pedestal is built from. The first material is visibility and representation. When we consistently see one type of person in positions of authority, whether that's a particular gender, race, or class, we receive a powerful silent message. The message is, leadership looks like this. Authority sounds like this. Importance dresses like this. When children grow up seeing only certain faces in history books as great leaders, when they only see certain types of people as CEOs in movies, when the expert on the news always has a particular accent and wears a particular suit, the foundation of the pedestal is being laid in their minds and in ours. The second material is language and stereotype. We have built-in cultural templates for what a leader should be. Assertive but not aggressive, confident but not arrogant, decisive but not rigid. These templates create impossible double binds, particularly for women and people of color. A woman showing emotion is hysterical, while a man showing the exact same emotion is passionate. A person of color advocating strongly is angry, while a white person doing the same is assertive. These linguistic traps make the pedestal incredibly difficult to climb for anyone who doesn't fit the traditional mold, and they make the position precarious for those who manage to reach the top despite these biases. The third material is access and connection. Who gets invited to the important meetings? Who gets the mentorship? Who gets the informal advice after hours? Who plays golf with whom? The pathways to influence and opportunity often run through invisible networks, social circles, alumni associations, family connections. These networks have historically been homogeneous, creating a self-perpetuating cycle where people who already have power help others who look and think like them gain power. The pedestal is guarded by these invisible walls, making it seem like those who occupy high places got there purely through merit. when in reality the playing field was never level to begin with. Now, why does this matter? Why tear down these structures? Because the pedestal creates distance. Distance between the leader and the led, between the expert and the lived experience, between the wealthy and the struggling. The distance isn't just physical, it's emotional, psychological, and most importantly, moral. Distance allows a politician to make decisions about poverty without ever having experienced it. Listen to me.
Distance allows a politician to make decisions about poverty without ever having experienced it.
Distance allows a corporate executive to lay off thousands of employees while their own compensation package grows. Distance allows all of us to see social problems as someone else's responsibility rather than our collective concern. The pedestal creates the illusion that some people are fundamentally different from others, smarter, more capable, more deserving, and perhaps most dangerously, it encourages those on the pedestal to start believing this illusion of themselves. So how do we begin this work? How do we tear down what we spent centuries building? The first shift is internal. It happens in our minds, our hearts, before it happens in our communities. We must become aware. We must become aware.
We must become aware
of when we're placing someone on a pedestal or when we're placing ourselves beneath one. Notice that feeling of smallness when you're talking to someone with an impressive title? Notice that automatic deference to the person with the expensive suit or the fancy degree? Notice when you dismiss your own ideas because you're not an expert? These are the moments when the pedestal is exerting its power over you. The counter move is to humanize, to remind yourself that everyone on a pedestal is a human being. They have doubts. They make mistakes. They have vulnerabilities and insecurities. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like me and you. The qualities you admire in them, intelligence, compassion, vision, exist as potential within you too. You may not have developed them to the same degree yet, but the seeds are there. This isn't about disrespecting accomplishment. It's about seeing accomplishment clearly as the result of effort, circumstance, privilege, and community support, not as evidence of fundamental superiority. The second shift is linguistic. We can change how we speak about authority and leadership. We can stop using language that elevates unnecessarily. Do we need to call someone your honor outside of a courtroom? Do we need to use full titles in casual conversation? This isn't about being disrespectful. It's about recognizing that formality often reinforces hierarchy. We can practice using I statements instead of deferring to external authority. I see it this way. Instead of, as the experts say, your perspective matters because you are the expert on your own experience. We can notice when we're using hierarchical language in our organizations and communities. Do we have superiors and subordinates? Or do we have colleagues and team members? Language shapes reality. That's why it's called spelling. And we can choose language that creates flatter, more collaborative structures. The third shift is structural. This is where we move from individual change to collective action. We can champion collective leadership models instead of looking for a single heroic leader to save us. We can distribute leadership across a team. We can rotate facilitation responsibilities. We can make decisions by consensus rather than decree. Many indigenous communities and social movements have practiced this for centuries. Leadership as a service, not as a status. Listen to me.
Leadership as a service, not a status.
We can implement practices that create equity, not just equality. Equity recognizes that we don't all start from the same place. Giving everyone the same thing, equality, often perpetuates existing disparities. Equity means providing different levels of support so everyone can reach that same outcome. This might mean actively recruiting leaders from marginalized communities. It might mean creating mentorship programs for those who've been historically excluded from networks of power. We can redesign our physical and virtual spaces to be less hierarchical. We need the boss in the corner office, or can we have an open plan where everyone interacts as equals? Do our video calls always feature the same person talking? Or do we consciously create space for quieter voices? In our communities, this might look like creating neighborhood assemblies where everyone has an equal voice, regardless of home ownership status. It might look like skill-sharing networks where the retired carpenter's knowledge is valued as highly as the professor's. It might look like local currencies that keep wealth circulating within our community rather than being extracted to distant corporate headquarters. This work of tearing down the pedestal is ultimately about reimagining power itself. We've been taught to see power as a finite source, something to be hoarded, something that if I have more, you have less. This is power over. Power as domination. Power as control. But there's another kind of power. Power with. Power as collaboration. Power as mutual enablement. This kind of power grows when it's shared. When I use my power to help you find yours, we both become more powerful. The pedestal is built for power over. It requires someone on top and someone below. It requires hierarchy. Power with doesn't need a pedestal. It works through networks, through circles, through webs of connection and mutual support. As we tear down the physical and psychological pedestals in our society, we create space for this different kind of power to emerge. We create the conditions for genuine community, where everyone's voice matters, everyone's needs are considered, and everyone's gifts are valued. This isn't a quick process. We're undoing centuries of conditioning. We're challenging structures that have seemed natural for generations. There will be resistance, both external and internal. But every time we speak our truth without waiting for permission, every time we value lived experience over credentials, every time we create a space where everyone has an equal seat at the table, we're taking another brick out of that pedestal. We're building a world where we look at each other eye to eye, where we recognize the leadership in everyone, where we understand that true authority comes not from elevation, but from connection. The work is to stop building upward and start building outward, to stop concentrating power and start distributing it, to stop looking for heroes to save us and start recognizing the heroes we are to each other. The pedestal is coming down, and we're building something better in its place, a circle, a network, a community where everyone belongs.